Talk about your time traveling, playing music
Oh,
over in through Europe, and like take me through the years, your university summers.
well, actually, I was on the American plan at university. I took every second year off and traveled. Um, First time I went over to Europe, I went by myself to meet up with a friend, and he'd gone from being a happy-go-lucky guy to being somebody that the children of God had gotten a hold of, and he had become very serious, so I ended up traveling on my own. Got a guitar in Germany and started playing in Austria at a number of small, sort of what we would call bed and breakfast, what they called pensions. And that was a fun time. That was early 70s. I had free skiing, free room and board, a few bucks a night and some tips.
Women?
Yeah.
Do you find that it was easier to attract women with a guitar in your hand?
That's a truism, yes. Certainly met lots of women with my guitar. And it's it's been good to me. I love women, and women love the guitar. In '75, I went back to Europe and ended up, through a number of serendipitous moments, playing my guitar for somebody in Germany, and then was offered a job at an American ski base, American Army ski base, for the winter, and I would sing 3 nights a week. Made about, I think I got $150, which was pretty good in '75. Plus free skiing, room and board, smorgasbord, had breakfast and dinner. I had a wonderful time. That was one of the best years. '77, I was singing on the street in Munich, and someone came up and said, "Would you like to go on tour for Marlboro?" As a singing cowboy, kind of. I had to get my cousin to come over. He was in medical school, but had a 6-week gap that was perfect timing for playing there. And we would go into city centers and castles and places where tourists would be, and we had a custom Marlboro sports car, Team Marlboro. You'd watch people's lips as we went by, Team Marlboro. And a custom van. We made a fair amount of money and had a lot of fun. We got so that we would, instead of giving away these smokes, we would trade them for ice cream cones and whatever little gift knick-knack was for sale in the marketplace. It was a wild time.
What's your favorite memory? Meeting your wife?
Ooh, that's a tough question frame like that. That was a magical time.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, in '75, I'd met a guy who was thumbing. He was from Sweden. I gave him a lift, and he'd left his jacket. We ended up corresponding, and I said someday I'll come over and visit. So after law school in '85, I went to Europe and ended up in Stockholm at about 11 o'clock at night. And first thing I saw was about a dozen beautiful blonde girls with tights on and clown noses and tuxedo tops. And they said, "She's getting married on Saturday. You have to give her a kiss." And me too, and me too. I love you, and all this. I thought, this is pinch me, I'm in heaven. And I went to the youth hostel there, and the next night was playing my guitar, and a couple of guys from Switzerland and Iran, I think, said, "Do you want to go with us? We're going out to some bars." And I ended up at the Hard Rock Cafe in Stockholm, and I looked across the crowded room, and there was this gorgeous woman who later became my wife. We made eye contact throughout the night, and then she left, but she saw that I was dancing with a girl from Quebec, and the girl from Quebec had been observing all this, and Kirsten went in between the two of us, and the girl said, "You better go for it." So I went outside and said, "Stop, you're breaking my heart." We talked for a few minutes. She said, "Have a nice visit to Sweden," and then she went on her way. And I thought, oh well, bubble burst. And then she got to the subway and felt compelled to come back. She had told her sister that night. Her sister was sitting with her at the Hard Rock. Said that I was the guy she was going to marry. And so she came back in. We talked some more. She said she was going to Gothenburg for a couple of days. Gave me a little piece of paper with her name and phone number. And then I didn't know which train she was going to be on, so I was at the station with a dozen roses. It turned out she was staying an extra day, but didn't know how to get a hold of me, of course. So I didn't see her. I got to England. I decided to come home for my father's retirement party. Took a boat over to England, had a couple of beers in a pub, and thought I better call this girl before I leave the continent. And so we talked, and I gave her my sister's address, and I could see the money disappearing on the phone. I said, 350 2nd Avenue West, Owen Sound. She had written down OWSEN, but figured when she looked at the map, this was the place. And we wrote to each other for a year, and then got married at a castle in Sweden in June of '87. So that was the romantic part.